Mary Jude Szymanski, Baton Rouge, and Joe Holtzman are with us. Welcome to all of you. Greg Phillips, Michael Gaber, there's a new name. Hello, Michael. Gordon Smith in Denmark, watching with us today. Ted Ryman checking in from Cape Town. Greg Phillips says it's a very, very hot and steamy Gold Coast down in Australia in the middle of their summer. Ed Worley in SoCal saying cheers. Ed, I saw your note. We'll talk. Julia's put a Velcommon up there. David James, it isn't raining yet. Well, we had a bit of rain over here this morning, David. Dave's across the bridge in Sausalito. Fritz Mueller in glorious Miami. Welcome to all of you. Let's get this one off the dock.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to show number 589 for this, the 3rd of February, 2023. Julie, I trust you are well.
I am, and I'm delighted that it's not Groundhog's Day because we're the 3rd and not the 2nd.
Well, we had Groundhog's Day yesterday. We'll talk about that in a sec. But we're once again live here from Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. Mary Jude Szymanski has checked in. Welcome to her. Congratulations again to your Eagles. I don't know who to cheer for, Julie, on the Super Bowl next weekend. Luca Craig down under in Auckland. It's dry so far. I hope you're recovering from your horrific flooding down there, Luca. And Jeff Waller, World on Water. Hi from Sydney. I'm being re-roofed, he's saying. Julia, my co-host, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. You're looking good in that kind of greenish gray dress. I've never seen that before.
Oh.
And I wore my greenish gray beige sport coat in your honor today.
Oh, how nice.
I'm your host, Tom Eamon, but then you all knew that as I look for some buttons here to push. Let's get on with this show and get into the pre-start where we don't really talk a lot about sailing stuff necessarily, but let's get into it anyway. Julie, as you were saying yesterday,
See a shadow on my stage. And so, no matter how you measure, it's 6 more weeks of winter weather.
Well, here's the fraud. Of course it is. It's 6 weeks until spring on any calendar. So Phil can't be wrong about that. All right, you heard it, 6 more weeks of winter. This is the 3rd straight year that Phil has seen his shadow. How we know whether he sees it or not, we're not sure. But if you go back to all 137 years of this horror show, he has predicted an early spring in only 20 of them. But Phil needs to improve his track record because a recent study found his predictions have only come true 4 times in the last 10 years. And his predictions have actually been even less accurate than if you flipped a coin.
where did this come from? You know, other than the movie, was it Tom Hanks who was in that movie?
Oh, yeah. It was before that, though. Groundhog Day's been a long
You know, in doing a little bit of research for this segment, it's not the first time we've had Groundhog Day here on the show because it popped up on the day of a show or the day before. Like it was Groundhog Day yesterday. It seems like it coming up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of these Groundhog Days, not only in different towns around, you know, they're all picking up after Puxatawny or whatever it's called and copying them, I guess you would say. Croutonicism. And then I also don't get, Julie, I guess, if the bloody, what's that animal called? Come on. Puxatawny Phil is a groundhog. It's Groundhog Day.
Right.
And if he sees his shadow, which means it's sunny, there's 6 more weeks of winter. You would think it'd be the other way around if it was cloudy and nasty, but I don't get it. This whole thing, in my opinion, is
I think I know about it because I have lots of Pennsylvania relatives.
Well, we all know about it, I think, from history and tradition, but okay, so much for Puxatawny Phil in Puxatawny, PA, Pennsylvania. Now, do you know what today is?
Only because I peeked.
You peeked?
Yeah.
Where on the show notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it in the show notes today, and we've celebrated this before, if I remember well, because it's always on a Friday. It is International Working Naked Day, which is not necessarily what you think it's supposed to celebrate. Apparently it's celebrated on the first Friday in February. It takes place this year, obviously on February 3rd this year, and is not what you think it is. The name of the holiday is, of course, suggestive, but it is actually about working from home. WFH. The naked part is optional. This idea may have sounded absurd a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, but with remote work on the rise, or at least it was on the rise, discover how to work at peak productivity while at your most comfortable state. Would you be more comfortable naked?
I was going to say not me. Yeah.
Well, whatever floats your proverbial boat. But look, there's more to it here. I had to do some research. It's celebrated in Australia. In fact, there's a site down there called Get Naked Australia, which is a bit of a nudist colony. You see the GET across the backs of the three people in the middle.
Yeah.
Get Naked Australia. Popular holiday down there, apparently, and it's celebrated there. And over the years, we've had some sailing naked pictures. This, you know who that is? Anna Tunnicliffe made a lasting impression on sailors and non-sailors alike when she posed, I think it was in 2012, for ESPN, the magazine's body issue. Apparently, it made a lasting impression on the editor as well, because none other than America's Cup skipper Jimmy Spithill is the one featured in the athletes this year, which was 2014. Now, these are two of the most amazingly fit human beings, let alone sailors.
Yeah.
Recognize the bridge in the background?
Yeah, yes.
2014, that's Jimmy training here in a moth. That is in the South Bay, south of the Oakland Bay Bridge. I just, for equal time, look at, she is an amazingly fit human being, sailor or otherwise, Anna.
Absolutely.
Is, and of course, Jimmy is as well. Sailing here in the Bay, San Francisco Bay 2014. But, these pictures out of ESPN's, I don't even know if this magazine still exists, The Body Issue. I suppose they were trying to take no pun intended, a page out of Sports Illustrated's nude. They have that issue, and I don't know. But here's some more. Wait, there's more. Spain got into the act, at least these two Spanish sailors, Onan Barrieros and Juan Curbelo. They were trying to raise money back in 2014 for the 2016 Olympics. That's
a pretty big swell behind them.
Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know where that is in Spain. I don't recognize the background, but they were hopeful, Spanish hopefuls, Olympic hopefuls, posing nude to raise their profile and money. And I don't know. Naked Illustrated. Yeah, we're now not Sailing Illustrated, Ted Ryman. We are Naked Illustrated. And just to wrap this segment up, it is, as I said, celebrated in Oz, in Australia, Work Naked Day on Friday, the 3rd of February, and there is no truth to the rumor that Jody has applied for that job. Jody Shields, I hope you're watching.
Trust Julia to see the big swell.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at everything else. She's looking at the big swell. Just to be clear, nobody sane sails south of the Bay Bridge. Good point, David James.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like a groundhog crying all the time. Ain't nothing but a groundhog crying all the time. I don't think it was a groundhog, Andrew Pindar. I think it was a hound dog, but
never mind.
Who's counting? Okay, so much for the pre-start. Gets us to the starting line for today's show. And as usual, we like to have our report from our esteemed Olympic coach, John Emmett of Great Britain. Delighted to have not only one today, but two reports from John, his usual report on what's going on. We called it Down on the Farm. He's back home on his mom's farm. And then we cajoled him to do another report about the top 10 laser sailors, which we'll bring to you right after this. Have a look.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. You might be able to tell where I am. I'm at Imberhorn Farm. Decided not to blur the background this time, but to take you a little walk and a talk. And if you haven't already, please not only like and comment, but do share this so other people can see it live. Going to do a slow walk around some of the farm buildings and everything where I grew up. I remember I had a lovely little farm play set when I was a boy, And I also, you know, used to think about ordering fertilizers and what crops I would produce and all these things, but it obviously didn't stick because I went off to be an engineer at university and then became a full-time sailor, but that's a long story. So behind me you can see what is the old granary, and this is probably fair to say where most of my coaching fees go at the moment. You might even be able to hear the repair work in the background. The farmhouse, which is a big old building, is I think about 400 years old. King Henry VIII used to actually come here and use the farmhouse as one of the hunting lodges. So if you believe in you know, haunted houses or whatever, this will be right up your street. So just walking along, we have a load of farm cottages here. And I say this is where I come home between trips. Lots of fond memories as a child. I have a very good memory, which is both a blessing and a curse. And I remember being walked along this, looking up at the stars. And I think I would have been maybe 2 or 3 years old, on my father's shoulders. And yeah, I remember looking at the stars. I think perhaps I wasn't a very good sleeper, but I did want to play noddy cars, if anybody remembers noddy, at sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had very, very patient parents. But this is where I came, and we've got a little pond at the bottom, not big enough to sail. It's actually looked after by the fishermen now, but I have paddled here, canoed here. So yeah, this is my sort of fleeting stop. I've actually done a little run around the farm this morning, and passed the workmen 3 times. They probably thought I was expecting them every 15 minutes. But we've got nice little areas here. We've gone benches and all these things. And this is my downtime after Villamora, and we're going to continue to think about the growth mindset. And this isn't just something which is about sailing. It's just absolutely everything in life, to have that correct attitude to help you succeed. So grow's pretty easy to remember. So we have our goal, and the next one that's our reality. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my reality in a minute, but it's really important to be honest with yourself. You know, are you a top sailor, or are you a mid-fleet sailor trying to become a top sailor? Or are you even a top sailor who thinks they're a mid-fleet sailor? You know, where you are and what your aspirations are, you first of all have to think about the reality of the situation. So I'm here thinking of the reality of my situation, because without funding, there's no program. You know, they say money makes the world go round. I sail and indeed coach because I absolutely love it. But recent changes means that ABRU no longer has funding. So at least for the short term, it looks like that project has ended. So on paper, you know, you have a program of perhaps 200 days. You can see quite a lot of work going on in the background here. You've got a program of, you know, lots and lots of days, but the fact is the program is only ever what the money is to afford. So yeah, it's a time of great change. Means I'm now available for from coaching from March onwards. And it also means that I might do a bit more sailing myself in the near future. I think I've sailed 1 day in 3 months, which was ironically at exactly the same venue I sailed before, so I probably could have left my boat there. But yeah, that's the end of my talk for today. R is reality, and you need to face up to the reality and make the very best of the situation, which is exactly what I'm going to try and do. So see you all on the show.
Yeah, so some sad news. We put the picture up here. There in ILCA 217836. His mentee is now former mentee, Ebru Balat from Romania. We give her our best wishes, but changing her circumstances back home in Romania, so she doesn't have the same funding that she's had, and she's going to, as John has told me, is going to leave John's one-on-one coaching and do the federation. Her National Sailing Association is going to look after her within a group of people. So it's obviously going to hurt her coaching a little bit, but times are tough, and that's the bad news. The good news is John is getting a lot of offers, or so I'm told and I'm hearing. He's getting offers not only to coach other people, a little tough mid-cycle to find coaching opportunities.
Yes.
But what is interesting, Julia, is that he's getting offers to be team leader as the Olympics are coming up, and there's, John Emmett's available. Maybe we can get him to lead our team and be sort of our head coach, coach the coaches as well as the other athletes.
That'd be great.
So I think there's some good news for John. Sorry, and our best wishes to Ebru, and we'll keep track of her. And maybe her funding returns. Maybe John goes back and does some work with and for her. We'll see. But as I promised, he's going to tell us what he thinks about the top 10 laser sailors, Julia. It's the top 10 laser sailors of all time. And this popped up in, where did it pop up? It popped up in Scuttlebutt. Maybe it's the first time I saw it. So I did a little investigation here in the last 3 or 4 days. And there's a guy called Dan Self, whom I don't know, who is a laser sailor and now is a foiler. And he has a blog. Worldwide, the laser, he says, is known as one of the toughest and most competitive fleets, and many great sailors have begun their sailing career in the laser class. Being a strict one-design class, success in the laser class relies heavily on a sailor's fitness, speaking of, boat handling, and tactical and strategic knowledge. Despite the competitiveness of the class, there are a number of names which stand out amongst the laser results sheets over the years, and I'm going to list my top 10 laser sailors of all time. This, again, written by Dan Self, who is an Aussie, and apparently a pretty good sailor in his own right. As I said, I don't know the gentleman, but bravo Zulu to him for putting this together. I think it's fun. He also has a company, a website called sail27.com, and he sells a few things on there, sailing-related items, so hope that goes well. Here is his list. Robert Scheidt, he says, again, Dan Self, it's pretty hard to mention the laser class without mentioning Robert Scheidt. The Brazilian has won 9 world championships, 3 Olympic medals in the laser, 2 gold, 1 silver, and is an ideal for laser sailors worldwide. Beyond the laser, Scheidt has gone on to success in other classes such as the Star and RC-44 and more. Next, I'm not going to read all 10 of these, but next up, Tom Slingsby, the number 2 spot on this list, he says, is a little contentious. But since we're considering the top 10 laser sailors, we will need to go off the achievements of each sailor in the laser only. With that said, Tom Slingsby, with 5 world championships, 5 world championships to his name, is the clear number 2. I did not know he'd won so many laser worlds. Also boasting an Olympic gold medal, Slingsby changed the game with his aggressive, physical, low groove sailing, meaning sailing a little bit lower and faster, especially in strong wind. When the wind was up, Slingsby was said to have been virtually untouchable on the water. Number 3, Ben Ainslie, known, of course, of the Brit, known as the greatest Olympic sailor of all time. Some people, particularly our Danish friends, might argue about that with respect to the late, great Paul Elvström. But let's don't pick nits here. Ben Ainslie kicked off his streak of Olympic medals in the laser class. Despite a long-time rivalry with the aforementioned Robert Scheidt, Ainslie was still able to achieve incredible results, including 2 Olympic, 4 world, and 5 European championship medals. That rounds out Dan's top 3. I'm going to go through the others without reading the individuals, but he says Nick Thompson would be 4th. Glenn Bork, Glenny, a longtime friend, another Aussie, would be 5th. And Paul Goodison, Goody, would be 6th. Probably makes sense. Steve Gruber is saying not just the Danes would argue about Paul Elvström, but about Paul versus Ben Ainslie, I should say. So Goody in the 6th slot. Pavlos Kontidis, 7th from Cyprus, and they're celebrated Olympian. American John Bertrand in 8th. John still competing. He was down sailing in the Finn, or coaching at least, in the Finn Gold Cup in Miami, and still sailing here on and off the San Francisco Bay where he's from. Tansi Stepanovic is ranked number 9, and Michael Blackburn 10th. So that is the list according to this guy Dan Self. This sounds like, to me, a pretty reasonable list. Let's see what John Emmett thinks.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. You join me in the airport lounge. So, yeah, 2 reports in one show. I hope that's not too much. Tom was really keen for me to comment on the top 10 laser sailors of all time. And I think it's always hard to compare apples with oranges when people sailed in a different time. And there's always a recency bias. So we remember things that have happened when you compare Messi to Pele or whatever. So it's a hard call. But I do feel slightly distracted now. So I've safely made it to the airport. But my laptop bag did fail the bomb screening 3 times, and the senior manager was called over and said, "Sir, this is very serious. We're considering calling the police and the bomb disposal team to get rid of your bag." Yeah, that would have been pretty scary, and I guess there'll be no videos for a while. But anyway, hopefully I'll get this to Tom in time and it'll make the show. But it's a bit of a non-event. I think I more or less agree with all the top 10 for the laser sailors. It is hard to compare people, but for me, I think the reason that Robert gets it is consistency, and I've always felt sailing is a consistency sport, and people call me old school. I'm not even a particularly big fan of the medal race. I think if somebody sails their socks off for 10 races and wins with a race to spare, then they should win with a race to spare. Not have these sort of playoff finals, which are of course very media friendly, and that's the way the sport is going. Or even the medal race, you know, it can really turn the results upside down. And I've been there, both sides. I mean, with Lily, it was an Olympic gold medal in 2012. Could have easily have been the other way. But yeah, the thing with the Ilka class or now the laser, there's so much strength and depth, and you know, arguably any Olympic gold medalist should be up there, because the thing with the Olympics, you have such a limited opportunity, because not only is the event only every 4 years, but it's just really hard to get to in the first place. You have like the Australians, where you have Tom Burton and Matthew Wern, both could win an Olympic gold medal, only one of them could go. And for Tom, who was the current Olympic champion, and I think probably the current world champion, sometimes don't get to go to the next Olympic Games. So it's such a hard class. And you know, when I look at the AC, you know, nearly all the top sailors seem to have come through the laser or now the Ilka at some point. But yeah, the thing I really like about this is putting out that top 10. It just really encourages people to talk about sailing, and that's the most important thing, just to keep, you know, sailing in our minds. And that media stuff, it's all about the personalities. Sometimes the slowest boats are the fastest. But anyway, I need to get on. Glad I've still got a computer to send this to Tom, and I won't be joining you on the show, hopefully, because I'll be in the air. So cheers.
Drinking show with a sailing habit. Thanks, John, for that. And at first, when he started talking about his laptop getting pulled aside by the bomb squad, he obviously shot that with his phone and was able just to shoot it in one take and then send it to us, because I got it an hour and a half, a couple hours ago. Did well, good time for the show. And I thought he was just trying to avoid talking about there's the 3-shot when we normally have a guest. We don't do that. We do the 2-shot. And I thought he was trying to avoid having to talk to us about those guys. But I think he's right. It's hard to compare. A couple of you made the comment that, you talk about what Robert Scheidt, this is Stingray saying what Robert Scheidt accomplished, and winning maybe more recently is even tougher than, some time ago. I'm not sure that's true, though, Stingray. People saying that it's like comparing our quarterbacks here in American football, 49er quarterback Joe Montana, who's a neighbor of ours and St. Francis Yacht Club member, by the way, against Tom Brady, who's also here from NorCal and went to the esteemed University of Michigan, Julia.
I know. How can we forget?
And he's just announced his retirement this week. But it is a little bit, it's not quite apples and oranges, but it is a little tough to compare. So let's not. But I'd like to break down one other thing that he said. Parse, as they might say on network television, and that is about the medal race. I really think John is right about the medal race. I think a consistency over regatta is so much more important than doing fairly well, getting into the medal race, and then either winning it and to get the gold medal. All comes down to one pretty short race, usually sailed up against the shore in not ideal conditions so the spectators can see it. I think it's Crutonic, and I've said so.
Yeah, but how would you?
And Julia and I did not rehearse that. I did not ask her to tell me.
I need to know.
But you know me, I always have. I don't criticize something unless I have an answer.
Yeah.
And I do have an answer. I suspect that when you cut from 20, 30 boats, whatever it is in the main fleet, down to the final 10 in the medal race, you cut away a lot of television viewers because you're losing 2/3 of the countries that might otherwise tune in because their sailors are gone. Number one. Number two, you down to the final 10 and you've had throwouts, maybe 2 throwouts, and it's pretty clear in that medal race, who's really hot and who's not, probably. But what a disappointment if you've had a terrific regatta and then finish 8th or 7th. I think it's ridiculous, and I think what we should do is eliminate the throwout, have no throwout races, so every race counts, including the final race, of course, not graduate 10 people to the medal race, have everybody go to the medal race, sail one more race. If you want to double count it, yeah, maybe, but I don't even think that's worthwhile, double counting it. Just sail 10 races, and with no throwout, and with tracking the way it is today, and the computers that can keep track then, Julia, of who's in. I can take John off the screen. It looks like he's sitting there listening to us as we celebrate John Emmett's sailing theme song that I made up. But I don't know why you have to eliminate 2/3 of the fleet. Keep them all there, keep them all sailing, celebrate all of them, and if you don't have a throwout, then a whole lot of people will have a chance to win, not just the final 10 in a lot of cases.
That's probably true.
And with the tracking going on, you're going up and down the fleet. You can say, well, right now, if they finish like this, so-and-so's the gold medalist, silver and bronze. If then a little more change on the next leg, oh, now it's this part. Oh, it's exciting. Look at what's going on. There's some changes here. It's not one person gets out at the top mark and sails away and gets the gold medal. I'm totally with John. I don't know how the rest of you feel. Correct or Crutonic, maybe that is a discussion for another time. Thanks again to John Emmett. Get to the front of the fleet, John Emmett sailing for his not one, but 2 segments today. Julia Ahrens is talking about something much more important. Julia, she says she loves your potato pearls, but I miss the scarf. You can wear both.
Oh, well, that was a discussion today.
And what did I say when you got down here?
Yeah. Where's the scarf?
Where's the scarf? We'll get criticized for hashtag the scarf. Where's the scarf? John Emmett would like to say at this point, like, follow and share. He always says that, especially early in the show. That's what we're reminding you now at the top of the show. Thank you very much, John Emmett, again. Welcome all of you to show number 589 for Friday, the 3rd of February, the day after Groundhog Day. I hope you're not having another Groundhog Day. We're not. We're going to get into, though, this day in history. The 3rd of February, we're stuck in the 30s right now. We had my mother's birthday on Tuesday in 34. This is 1931. Here's your first clue. Any idea? NASCAR, yeah, Baton Rouge agreeing with me. He's saying NASCAR updates yearly standings throughout the race during critical races. Exactly. Stingray saying he agrees with me completely. But let's back to this day in history. That is the Royal Navy's HMS Veronica at the end of a wrecked pier. Do you know where that pier was in 1931? What the occasion was? Sailors to the rescue. There is a sailing theme to this show, believe it or not. That is there. I'm surprised the Kiwis aren't on here with this. Recognize that? You know, it's not Japan. Prohibition on drinking for ship captains? Nope. The captain did not run into the pier. You see that marking there on the map? Hawke's Bay?
Yep.
Good wine up there. On the North Island, up on the East Coast.
Was it a bomb hit?
No bomb. Come on, Kiwis, you must know what happened in your home country. It was New Zealand's biggest Earthquake. Steve Atkins. Yeah, he's got it. Looks like an earthquake. Worley's got it. Ed's saying it looks like an earthquake. There's another clue. That is Napier's Town Hall, Napier, New Zealand. Earthquake, earthquake. Everybody chiming in with earthquake. Okay.
Wow.
Will help the Kiwis. The 1931 Hawke's Bay earthquake, also known as
Hawke's
the
Bay.
Napier earthquake, occurred in New Zealand at 10:47 on the 3rd of February, 1931, injuring thousands and devastating the Hawke's Bay region. It remains New Zealand's deadliest natural, we're going to come back to that, natural disaster. Centered 15 kilometers north of Napier, it lasted for 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
2.5 minutes!
Wow.
It had a magnitude of 7.8. There were 525 aftershocks recorded in the following 2 weeks with 597, yada, yada. The main shock could be felt in much of New Zealand with reliable reports coming in from as far south as Timaru on the east coast of the South Island.
Wow, that was a biggie.
It was a biggie. Get this. The death toll might have been much higher had the Royal Navy ship Veronica, HMS Veronica, not been in port at the time. Within minutes of the shock, the Veronica had sent radio messages asking for help. The sailors joined survivors to fight the fires, rescue trapped people, and to help give them medical treatment. Veronica's radio was used to transmit news of the disaster to the outside world and to seek additional
Oh, isn't that
assistance.
interesting? Yeah.
So a nice historical note, but there's more. Julie, have you ever been to this? This is the new version. It just got redone here, but there was an older version of this. It is the Veronica Sun Bay Memorial Pergola, the memorial in Napier, built to honor that ship and its people. A memorial to HMS Veronica, initially called the Veronica. I don't know why they separated it in two words and then one, but it was built in 1934 and dedicated in 37 on Napier's Marine I've seen this, commemorating her efforts after the city's 1931 earthquake. So bravo Zulu to everybody on that ship, the sailors coming to the rescue. Hawke's Bay earthquake in 31, New Zealand's worst natural disaster, even worse than the Christchurch earthquakes, kills 256 and injures thousands, devastating Napier and the Hawke's Bay region this day in history, 3rd of February, 1931. Yeah, Gordon Smith, apparently there was no tsunami. I don't know. I didn't see any reference to it. Now for extra credit, what is New Zealand's worst man-made disaster? Any idea? Not natural disaster, man-made disaster. See if anybody, especially the Kiwis, have any idea. Gordon, no, the Gallipoli, no. Gordon, the memorial was built in 34. The ship was there in 31. It was the memorial that was built. The America's Cup, James Frederick Bland, KZ7. Luca Craig, it has to be a politician. Auckland's AC-37 plan. Stingray, we need one of these. We need a bell. We get something, a horn or a applause or something for Stingray. He's got it. New Zealand's worst man-made disaster. AC-37 in Barcelona. Right? I mean, it's a disaster. And it continues. As Stingray knows, and I haven't reported it, but there's a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe Monica Diaz knows this too, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in the financial press in and around Barcelona about how the government hasn't ponied up the necessary money, and they've had to go to the banks to borrow money, to try to borrow money. And I don't want to get into all that yet. Stingray got it right. COVID-19, Alex Ken is asking. Yeah, the airplane crashing in Antarctica was, they called that a natural disaster. That was apparently the second worst disaster in terms of people being killed. I'm not sure they call that a man-made disaster. But okay, we're going to keep you posted on what's going on in Barcelona because this is a disaster.
You're not going to tell us more now.
No, we're not. Stingray and I are investigating it, and we'll let you know. Now, speaking of earthquakes, I got to ask you if this news which came out of France yesterday and more this morning if it's correct or croutonic that one of our favorite sailors, Clarice Kremer of France, Banque Populaire has been her sponsor. It's now Banque Unpopulaire because they've dropped her.
Really?
Yes, precipitously. I mean, it's an earthquake what's happened. So why? Well, Yachting World has a story, and thank you to a couple of our FOSI who called me, texted me. You know, I was aware of this, but I wasn't quite aware of the gravity of the situation. Yachting World saying in a headline, "The motherhood penalty?" ? The Brits would say controversy as Vendée Globe skipper Clarice Kremer loses sponsor. Banque Populaire's dropping of Clarice Kremer has caused widespread outrage among the offshore sailing community and has become a huge national story in France. And that's right, World on Water. Wow, she had a baby. You are right. Preggers James Frederick Bland is saying that is the story, although she's had the kid. So here's the rest of the story. IMOCA skipper Clarice Kremer, who has recently given birth to her first child, has been controversially dropped by her sponsor, Banque Populaire, ahead of the 2024 Vendée Globe. Kremer, who currently holds the record for being the fastest woman to sail solo around the world, raced for Banque Populaire in the last Vendée Globe and was due to take the helm of the former Apivia for the same backers in the 2024 race. In a post on her Facebook page, which we'll show you in a minute, Kremer explained that although she wasn't obligated to, she had told her sponsors in February of 2021 that she planned to start a family.
Just don't do it on our time.
They still chose me, sure, this is her quote, they still chose me for this new Vendée Globe and communicated our mutual commitment in autumn 2021. I learned, I insert the word only in here, I learned only last Friday that Banque Populaire had finally decided to replace me. This is a translation from the French. By their decision, and despite my constant will, I will not be part of the Vendée Globe 2024. But wait, there's more. Vendée Globe rules for the 2024 edition require all skippers to compete based on race miles. Yes, we all know this. On this note, I of course fell behind the other competitors at the start. This maternity leave left me out of qualifying for a year. Today, Banque Populaire decides that it represents for them a risk that they ultimately do not want to take, notwithstanding that there's a whole nother year of qualifying events ahead of us. So I don't know. See, it has a feel to me like maybe there's something more to this than her being a mother, than her having had the kid, than her not already qualified. But you tell me, is the sun setting or rising? Because I suspect there are a lot of other people who are going to be interested in sponsoring her. Yes. Now, this is her Facebook page, and which, again, it's translation from the French. Banque Populaire decides to leave me alone. I gave birth to a baby girl November 2022. While nothing obliged me, I'd informed my sponsor, yada, yada. I won't read the rest of this. To the second to last paragraph, today, Banque Populaire decides that it represents for them a risk that they ultimately do not want to take. I am in shock. Other projects launched much more recently are still going on without an eyebrow raised, I guess. 2 full seasons left and 4 transatlantic to get back on the level I was on, the edge to finish my rehab ASAP.
Well, that's a little unusual.
A little? This day and age? Now look, that post has already, I did this screen grab a couple hours ago, 18,000 views and thumbs up and down to not thumbs up to her sentiment, not to what Banque Populaire did. 3,000 comments and 7,000 more than shares.
Wow.
And since she posted this yesterday at sometime 3:14 a.m. our time. Now, these comments just happened to be in a row, so I grabbed them as well. I thought they were pretty representative. Timothée Pellet, who's a good youth match racer we know from France, saying, "Scandalous! Cheer up." Our Fozy Monica Diaz saying, "Amazing," with that red face, upset. Joscha Hofland from Denmark, who's a superb judge and umpire and a longtime friend. bit of a mentor of mine, or a mentee of mine. Really, Banque Populaire, this is 2023. Clarice is your worldwide poster girl for what women can achieve, and you are dropping her because she is now a mother? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
And I couldn't agree more with this one other comment. I don't know Mr. Duran, but Mark Duran saying in a comment that has had 374 hearts and thumbs up. Hello, Clarice. The problem is that Banque Populaire did not understand that the public was following you and not a sponsor. They will lose a lot with this awkwardness. No matter what, you've proven yourself in this world of men, and above all, you're now a mom. I mean, she's proven herself in the world of sailors, men and women. You don't have future worries, and other sponsors will jump on you. Personally, I am a fan, and I will continue to follow you in your adventures that only you can share with us. Good luck. Mr. Mark Duran, again, whom I don't know.
That's probably true.
But don't you think that's true?
Yep.
So bravo, Zulu, to him. Stingray saying, dang, tough break for her. Was the kid born? Oh, Stingray, that's terrible. She's what a fabulous person. I see valid points on both sides. Fitzmuller, both would be unpopular. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I understand. What a crock of shiza. Julie Aarons is saying, I'm glad I'm not in her situation. She was only out for a year, not a long time, Jeffrey Waller's saying. WOW, wow. Graham Sweeney says, sounds more, yeah, I think this is true. This is and I haven't talked to Graham, but I think our Fozy up in Scotland, sounds more like they're pulling away from sailing sponsorship. I didn't think it's that personal. And Julie, that was my take when I thought, maybe this was an excuse to dial back from their involvement in our beloved sport.
Also, sort of sounds to me that they didn't have any idea that there'd be 750,000 people following her.
Well, and that there'd be such an upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they must have thought there'd be some, but apparently, and I've talked to Pindar, I've talked to a few others, and apparently it is a cause célèbre. It's a major deal across France today. It will be. Yeah, I think Andrew knows a lot more than we probably know. He's very close to this. Steve Gruber's saying, yeah, boo, says Stingray. The kid, by all accounts, the kid's beautiful and perfect. So I ask you again, is this correct or croutonic? In a word, put it in our comments so we can go back and look at is Banque Populaire correct or croutonic? And some of you may think they're correct, that for whatever reason, a man or a woman who has a change of their kind of life, family life, and so on, and hasn't yet qualified, to be fair, hasn't yet qualified for the race, they can dial it back. Correct or croutonic? Ed Worley says croutonic. We'll see what others think. Julie, you going to follow that for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Graham Sweeney may be right. Croutonic. Ted Ryman saying croutonic, bonk, croutonaire. Ted Ryman's clever. Jared DeYoung agreeing it's croutonic. His spell checker fixed it to crouton is. Crew with a CREW, croutonic. We need to start a drink, croutonic. Julie Aaron saying it's obviously croutonic. Well, we'll see if Andrew Pindar or anybody else knows more about it than do we. We'll see. Mary Jude Szymanski agreeing. The women all feel it's croutonic, I think. Alan Long, yes. And we'll see. We're feeling sorry for her. I'll try to get her on the show and see if we can get Clarice's side of the. Well, we know what her side of the story is. Maybe we get somebody on from the bank too and say, "Hey, why'd you do this?
I got caught in the middle."
Why?
He'll say.
You think anybody would come on?
No.
Ed Worley, Alan Long. Okay, any other comments before we leave this? Yeah, it's a tough one. Really sad for somebody so good. Can't go off and have. I mean, what if a guy wanted to go off and take some time off because his wife had a kid and wanted to, have some paternity leave? Would the sponsor fire the guy?
Of course.
You think? Yeah, right. Andrew Pindar. Here's probably a good, wise comment from Andrew. Fortunately, sponsors of sailing, Mom Sam Davies, Abby Ehler, Annie Lush, and others have been rather more enlightened. good point. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Fog Machine saying if they're pulling out of sailing, then she has plenty of time to find other sponsors. If they're handing the money to someone else, then it's a travesty. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Monica Diaz is saluting Clarice. Name the Fozzy cocktail, crude tonic. Well, you guys come up with that. I'll get on with the show. You come up with a cocktail. Okay, Bravo Zulu. Sorry, lo siento mucho, but hopefully she comes out on the good end of this. Now, there's some more news about LA 28 and the story we told you on Tuesday about the International Paralympic Committee not reinstating sailing, and that's our lead, really our lead story today. I know you're supposed to not bury the lead. You're supposed to put it at the top of the show, but then this Clarice story popped up, which I think is arguably more
timely,
earth-shaking, and Julia, and timely, indeed. So we told you on Tuesday that the effort to reestablish sailing as a Paralympic sport was not successful, as the International Paralympic Committee revealed the 22 sports. We played that video for you and told you what they were. Sailing was introduced at the Paralympic Games as a demonstration sport way back in '96, and that was the Savannah sailing. It was Atlanta, it was the Games, but sailing was in Savannah, Georgia, and I was the judge, member of the jury there. The American member, and as an official sport for 5 editions from 2000 to 2016. That is sailing in the Paralympic Games. However, mismanagement led to it being dropped for Tokyo. This is Craig Lewick of Scuttlebutt, I think, wrote this. And World Sailing has been committed to the necessary changes for its return.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they tried. And how hard they tried, one hears, talking to one of our Fozzy this morning, Julia, maybe they didn't try hard enough. Maybe they did not, quote unquote, answer the questions on the quiz. In other words, they send you a form to fill the form out, say, how many countries do you have? How many events do you have? How many sailors do you have? And apparently one hears, and I'm not going to quote the individual, but it's a senior serious Fozzy.
Yeah.
Senior serious Fozzy, who said, I've seen the form, or I have people who've seen the form, and apparently they went back and said, well, we will have this many people. We will have that many people. And instead of saying, here's the current situation and it will improve, they said, this is what we're going to do. And the IPC said.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, too bad.
It is too bad. It's really sad. But more than that.
Yes.
In Scuttlebutt last night, and I've reached out to this guy, I haven't heard back from him. This gentleman's name is Keith Burhans, I think I've spelled that right, and he's from Lake Ontario, an American living in New York on the south side of the lake, and a long time and celebrated sailor in that part of the world. On July 30th, 1995, Keith Burhan's life changed forever despite the tragic boating accident in which he lost both legs. He still maintains his status as an avid Great Lakes boater on Lake Ontario. His courage and resilience stands as a source of great inspiration for all those who have the pleasure of meeting him, which I have not had, but I'm going to reach out to him, see if we can get his more formal opinion, because he wrote something that filtered through to me. Scuttlebutt published it last night, and in a nutshell, Mr. Burhan said, but the elephant, he kind of redressed the whole thing, and he said, but, okay, here's what really happened, he's saying. As a parasailer, and he is a Paralympian as well. But the elephant in the parasailing room is never, ever talked about, is that the 2012 Court of Arbitration for Sport hearing brought by the British team that ultimately destroyed the International Association, used to be International Foundation of Disabled Sailing, IFDS, the former international governing body. And he asserts that the 3-person keelboat team for the British at the London 2012 Paralympics Games were penalized due to unauthorized maintenance. They hauled the boat out to do a supposed repair, and while it was out, they supposedly washed one side of the keel, or maybe both sides of the keel, which was not permitted, apparently, to wash the hull and the keel, or so he asserts, costing them a medal. They were penalized by the jury, X many points. And when the Royal Yachting Association submitted an appeal after the games to the Court for Arbitration in Sport, the IFDS, and it was an appeal against the IFDS and their jury, approached bankruptcy due to the legal costs of defending this appeal at the CAS, at the CAS, or so this gentleman asserts. And he went on with, I'm not going to go through the he said, she said stuff, but he went on to assert in that same statement that the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, has not been too fond of other sports that had problems like this. And he asserts this is the elephant in the room. And this is why they said, we're going to wash our hands of this sport. They can't run it. They can't manage it. There was some alleged cheating going on at the 2012 games when they held the and I don't know if this happened, but this is what he said and has gotten a fair bit of attention. So we're going to follow the story. I'll try to get him on. We'll try to get somebody from GBR on to talk about what in fact happened. But the jury did penalize them, took points away, and it has caused a continuing kind of festering controversy. So that's all I know. And we're upside down as a sport for Paralympic sailing in 28 at the LA Games.
Mary Jude Szymanski has asked, and I don't know, what about Hannah with Sail GP? Isn't she back with the team since she had her child?
Yes.
She is.
Yes. Yeah. John Schaefer, he's making a comment here, Julia. Do you see that? Yeah. Don't forget, in 2003, Banco settled with the U.S. government to avoid going to jail, $20 million in fines for laundering narco money. It has been clear for years that they have a different set of rules. I'm not sure, John, what that's in reference to. Oh, maybe he's talking about Banque Populaire. Sour grapes say, yeah, well, world sailing, we're back on this topic of the LA 28 games. Gordon Smith saying, well, world sailing had better pull its finger out and get the plan done for the next application deadline. Totally agree, Gordon. And I hope, and I like Mary Jude's comment too, Julia. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to try to find out more about this. And if any of you does know, please send it our way. It's 1352 here in San Francisco on a beautiful, now it's clearing up here a bit, Julia. Well, no, sort of. What's the forecast? Is it going to rain here for the rest of the weekend?
No,
but not hard.
No, it's just light.
I'm pleased to report we had no water in the garage this morning.
Oh, good.
After this, somebody asked me, Andrew McUrban, I think, I hear he's got some friends here that we're going to buy a drink for over at the yacht club, I hope, later today.
Good.
And he said, I hear it's raining there again. I said, raining? This is a Scotch mist. This is it's nothing. If you're just joining us, show 589, closing in on 600, Julia.
Is it closer?
3rd of February, 2023. Thanks for joining us, and let's get on to the America's Cup, AC 37. The big news this week, yesterday, it was announced that the French have in fact entered. The official French challenger for the 37th America's Cup is named the Orient Express team. And nowhere in their press release did it say why they're named the Orient Express team, like we're all supposed to know. Now, they announced that Accor Hotels, Accor, A-C-C-O-R, Accor Hotels, has come to their rescue because their initial investor backed out, or so one hears. But we'll tell you more about that in a sec. The Accor Hotel Group has committed to Quai Challenge for the 37th America's Cup, naming its Orient Express brand as title partner of the official French challenger, which will be known as Orient Express Team. This commitment to old sports' oldest trophy, one of the most demanding and competitive sailing, alongside Quai Challenge, continues Accor's expansion into the maritime world following the construction of 2 Orient Express, how do you say that, Sealand Seas, sailing ships by Chantier de Atlantique. Is China underwriting the France? I don't think so, James Frederick Bland. There's a little more. The team led by Stefan Candler is a good guy, and I'm delighted they're in, by the way, and Bruno Dubois, and including talented French specialists such as naval architect Benjamin Mule, skipper Quentin Delapierre, head of performance Franck Camas. They got some real good guys and names here, and technical director Antoine Carras will face 4 other challengers at the Challenger Selection Series in September 2024. Now, this next paragraph, I'm going to read it carefully, listen carefully, because this is a bizarre paragraph, in my opinion. The goal is to carry the colors of Orient Express as far as possible into the competition. Doesn't sound like the goal is to win. Sounds like the goal is to carry the colors as far as possible. And why not all the way to the America's Cup match against defender Emirates Team New Zealand? Well, for the first time in France's history in the America's Cup, the French challenge will benefit from a latest generation technology package provided by the defender. This will allow Orient Express team to gain time and start on equal terms with its opponents. You think? Really, Julia?
I don't know.
You don't know about that. Neither do I. And that's why you see Daniel Gruen and some of these others saying, you know, is this Team New Zealand? Team Orient Express, Team New Zealand? So Ed Worley saying, which used AC boat are they going to buy to train? Well, it may be Stingray hears that they're going to rent a boat. They're going to rent an AC boat and use it. They got to build the boat in country somehow, some way. So who knows what rules have been relaxed to allow them to do what. James Bland, they've surrendered before they start. Bill Wingrove, how can you tell me the design package provided by the defender is not super crutonic when it comes to the AC? Totally agree, Bill. One hears now this is the good news. Steve Gruber, one hears they are in for two challenges. Well, one can only hope. And that's fair. I mean, teams need to do a kick, tire kicking, come in.
That's what they meant.
And he's been in.
Yeah.
And, so I'm glad they're in. It'll get a lot more coverage. It'll get more viewers in France unless they make complete asses of themselves.
Yeah. But they're such good sailors and boat builders and all that. So
hopefully they will. And so, see, somebody up here is clever. Ted Ryman is saying maybe it has to do with the training, and Fog Machine saying, well, maybe that's because that's where the murder was committed on the Orient Express. So here are the sponsors. They got up. They did this live thing for media, and it was not public, but they did invite me, thank you, and others at 02:30 our time yesterday morning, and I did not get up to watch it, but I've seen the material since. And again, bravo, I'm glad they're in. I'm glad they're giving this a go. It sounds like the rules are being relaxed, eased to help them a lot. And now the thing you really want to know, which is why are they the Orient Express team? Nobody tells you this. We tell you. That's why you come on here to watch.
Right.
Sailing Illustrated. In 2017, according to Wikipedia, Accor Hotels bought a 50% stake in the Orient Express brand.
Oh, how nice.
You know who SNCF is? It's the French National Railroad.
Yeah.
In order to launch a new chain of luxury Orient Express hotels. In 2022, Accor and SNCF announced they would relaunch the Orient Express in 2025 from Paris to Istanbul, having a stop in the Croatian city of Split. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
The train cars on that route will include 17 historic carriages from the defunct nostalgic Istanbul Orient Express, which was discovered by a French railway historian, yada, yada, yada. So supposedly that is going to happen, and that's apparently why Accor Hotels has decided to use this branding as a way to...
I think that's exciting.
Well, I don't know if it's exciting, but it's, it's something.
Yes.
So this from Tip and Shaft, the Friday newsletter, superb Friday newsletter out of France. The one key priority was to acquire the design. They apparently had I didn't run the whole story. This is an excerpt, but apparently they had a private investor which allowed them to launch the team back in June of last year, almost a year ago. The one key priority after the private investor was secured was to acquire the design package of the AC-75 from Team New Zealand. We considered everything, including designing our boat ourselves, but as time passed and funding was slow to arrive, this solution became obvious, says Benjamin Mule, especially since they had just won 2 cups in a row. The contract with the Kiwis was signed at the end of June, at the same time as the French challenge was officially submitted to the RNZ, the Defenders Team New Zealand's yacht club. Okay? But wait, there's more. But barely 2 weeks later, the rug was pulled out from under them when the investor announced to Stefan Candler that he was pulling out. Quote, We were contractually, because of Stefan's quote, we were contractually committed to a lot of people, but we didn't have enough to pay them. We had to ask them to last for 2, 3, or 4 months. It was really tough. I asked myself a lot of questions, but I hadn't completely lost hope because I knew Stefan, this is the guy from the hotel chain, different Stefan. I knew I beg your pardon, this is a quote from Mr. Dubois. I knew Stefan, I knew he wouldn't let go. The two men must therefore resolve to end the contracts at the end of September. Several of them left the team, some for other challenges, including my colleague, who I did a couple cups with, I think the world of Dimitri Despierre, Laurent Chatillon, and Antoine Conan, American Magic, or Sebastian Zarate went to Ineos. So, I mean, it was cretinism afoot. No wonder this thing got delayed. But they're back in it now. Better late than never. It sounds like they're a day late and more than $1 or euro short, but they're in. And I'm glad they're in. I'm happy for them. I hope they make it, and I hope they make it in a big way. But getting there till now, as a couple of you said, sounds like it was more like the murder on the Orient Express, the famous book by Agatha Christie. Mm-hmm. Speaking of 1934, it was written, I think, in 1934. And the detective was?
Oh, gosh.
Hercule?
Oh,
how do you say that in French?
Poirot. Yeah.
Poirot, that's right. Got it. You got it, Julia.
Yeah.
Was it Hercule? I think that's how it's spelled. I'm not sure that's how it's pronounced in French. Poirot. Poirot. I looked that up, the pronunciation today. Okay, now there's more. This also from Tip and Shaft, saying, while the French Orient Express team challenge, they seem a little, not derisive, but they seem a little dismissive. While the French Orient Express team challenge is just getting off the ground, see above, New Zealand's 37th America's Cup defender, America's team, Emirates. Let me start over.
Yeah.
Am I a crouton? Maybe I can have a drink of coffee.
You were reading 2 lines at once.
I can have a drink of coffee, slow down, and start again. While the French Orient Express team is just getting off the ground, New Zealand's 37th America's Cup defender, Emirates Team New Zealand, started their first 2-boat testing this week with a first AC-40 helmed. Now, this is interesting. Helmed by its usual crew, made up of Peter Burling, Nathan Outeridge, Blair Tuke, and Andy Maloney. And by the way, they're not switching sides. So, you know who the skippers are? Nathan Outeridge and Pete Burling are skippering on either side of the boat.
Uh-huh.
And then get this, with Liv Mackay and Leonard Takahashi, who have succeeded each other at the helm, Josh Jr., Sam Meach, and Marcus Hansen. Mm. So Leo, our Fozy Leo Takahashi, time to get him on the show. I did not know he was the ETNZ since he dropped his Olympic campaign.
No.
Did not know
that.
Oh,
that's interesting.
But he's with that team. And, of course, the French are just barely off the ground, buying a second or third rate generation design package, or first generation, I should say, but 2 or 3 generations ago, design package, while these guys are 2-boat testing in their AC-40s, a.k.a., what do they call them? The equivalent to a 12-meter, EQ-12M, whatever they call it, boat. EQ something. Mm-hmm. AC-40 is easier to remember. Okay, so much for that part of the America's Cup news. Now the youth and women's America's Cup news has gotten off the ground, and this is a terrific piece by Olingi. And there's a video I'm going to show you at the end, but they have announced their effort, their calling for sailors, youth and women, for their respective America's Cup teams in Switzerland, with this press release and the statement on their website calling, and there's a lot of detail. This is the first time we've really heard the detail about the Youth and Women's America's Cups, or at least this much detail. The inaugural Women's America's Cup and third Youth America's Cup events are scheduled to be held in Barcelona in September, October 2024, in parallel to the 37th AC. Paving the way to the world's oldest international sporting trophy, these events will have their time in the spotlight. Alinghi Red Bull Racing will field teams to represent Switzerland, in both the women's, and Youth America's Cup events. It's a very dark video, but I'll play it for you in a moment, but let's tell you some more. They, the Swiss, are going to have a three-phase selection. I mean, this is very well, no surprise, thought out. Bravo Zulu to them. Selection process will span several months. Phase 1, April 2023. That's 2 months from now. Digital application and initial selection based on resume submissions. Phase 2, Swiss qualifiers, 19, 20, and 21 of June this year in Thun at the Segelschule, the sailing school of Thunersee. We sailed on Lake of Thun. 4, 5, 6 in July in Brunnen, the Regatta Verein, the Regatta Society Club of Brunnen. And then the third part of that is in July at Lake Geneva. It's the SNG, Société Nautique Genève. Sounds like the semifinals there. They'll carve it down to a few people who they'll send to Barcelona for a final dates TBD, but between the end of 2023 and early 2024. Nicely thought out, nicely laid out, all on Alinghi Red Bull's website and on a press release. What boat, they do a Q&A now, will be used for the Youth and Women's America's Cup events? Both regattas will be sailed on the AC40 foiling monohull, the one design mode. You all know that. Boats will be provided by the organizers. AC40 stands for America's Cup boat, but only 40 feet long. The foiling monohull looks like a scaled-down version of the AC75, as you all probably know. Top speed is around 45 knots. Thank God they're using knots. The crew is made up of, and fine to put kilometers per hour or miles per hour parenthetically, but the crew is made up of 4 fixed positions, 2 pod seats on each side of the hull. Nobody's switching sides. The power to trim the sails and foils is supplied by batteries. No human strength is required other than to steer the boat and push buttons. There are 2 wheels used alternatively and control buttons for the sails and foils. Will the next couple, we have these people on shore doing, a game?
Every time I see that, so much of sailing is by feel, the feel of the wind and the feel of the boat, and how can you feel it's time to push a button?
Well, you can. I mean, you'll feel the boat. You're going to look at, but you're going to have instrumentation that's basically going to tell you that. It's really become Game Boy. It's a different deal. But wait, there's more. When will the races take place? Youth America's Cup, 26 September through the 2nd of October 2024 during the CSS. Women's America's Cup, as you all know, we've seen it in the schedule, 10th through the 16th of October 2024 during the AC Final. Where will the Youth and Women's America's Cup base be located? Well, of course, it'll be moored at the Olympic Marina in Barcelona. What is the race format? This is interesting, and new to me at least. What is the race format for each event? 12 teams will be divided into 2 pools of 6 boats. Stage 1, 3 days of 6 to 9 fleet races for each pool. The top 3 qualify for the next round. Stage 2, 1 day of 3 to 4 fleet races. The top 2 qualify for the finale, the final. Final stage, a single match race, winner takes all. Talk about medal race.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, it'll be faster.
It will be quick.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, thank you, sir or ma'am. What are the teams? Who are the teams? The defender and all challengers must enter a team in both events. We knew that. Invitations will allow 6 teams and countries not represented at the 37th AC to enter the youth and the women's events. 3 invited entries have been confirmed for both the Youth and Women's America's Cups. I didn't know this. Royal Vancouver Yacht Club, Canada.
Nice.
Called AC40 Team Canada. The Royal Netherlands Yacht Club, combining with the Royal Maas Yacht Club of the Netherlands. Team Dutch Sail, good. Real Club Nautico de Barcelona, so hometown team, Sail Team BCN. Interesting.
That's good.
Interesting. Now here is the video produced by Alinghi, and their call to youth sailors and women sailors to come to their respective AC teams.
See you soon. Bis bald.
Ci vediamo!
Okay, well, I don't know what you think of all this, but I think what Red Bull Alinghi is doing is a good job. I salute them, what they're doing. A lot of you are becoming disillusioned. Alan Long saying, I'm rapidly becoming disillusioned with this AC business. Alex Hayworth, fleet racing in the AC40s is utterly lethal. It won't happen.
Really?
There's a prediction. Write that down, Julia. That may be true. It won't happen, he says. May be true. Daniel Groen, yeah, we've got that link. I used some of that, Daniel. Thank you in this story replying. Because of the headloppers, yeah, well, replying to Ed Worley, I would think so. ETNZ had computer-assisted sail control in Bermuda. The Dutch should enter with a single yacht club in respect to the deed. Well, the deed doesn't apply here, Alex, so it doesn't have to be a single yacht club. And they're back and forth about F1 and Ford. And Gordon Smith saying the AC teams have a lot on their plates organizing 3 campaigns simultaneously. That is the truth. Okay, we'll press on here. It's 2:12. We're about an hour and 12 minutes into today's show. Thanks for joining us. This is a nice video, a little longer than we normally play, but I'm talking with Stingray this morning who sent me the link, and I already had the link, but I wasn't really going to use it. And then it's in Italian, but with subtitles, and we don't spend a lot of time paying close attention to, did I say Alinghi, to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting video that I think we should watch. Have a look. 6 minutes.
Michele Cannoni, short team manager e boat captain di Luna Rossa. Il fatto che io sia stato negli ultimi 20 anni un velista professionista mi aiuti molto a capire quali sono le dinamiche di una barca e le dinamiche di un equipaggio e anche le dinamiche di uno short team, quindi credo di poter dare con la mia esperienza un po' i ritmi e la cronologia degli avvenimenti quando devi gestire più dipartimenti per fare lo stesso lavoro. Lo short team è la parte di personale di Luna Rossa che sta a terra e che fa tutti i lavori sulla barca, tutte le modifiche che gli vengono passate dal design team o dai feedback dei velisti. All'interno di uno short team di Coppa America ci sono circa una decina di dipartimenti e le persone che vengono gestite da me in questo momento sono intorno ai 35 persone. Il ruolo di coordinatore dello short team è un po' il link tra il design team e lo short team appunto, e tra i velisti e lo short team, e si cerca di coordinare tutto quello che sono le modifiche e lo sviluppo che ci arriva dalla parte di design team o per esempio le riparazioni che avvengono dopo una giornata di sailing. Noi abbiamo avuto la fortuna di avere come mandato la costruzione totale del nuovo prototipo di Luna Rossa e quindi abbiamo dovuto imbastire nello shed 2 forni paralleli per costruire appunto lo scafo e la coperta. Per laminare uno scafo come questo servono un sistema di deumidificazione che abbiamo dovuto progettare e mettere in opera, un sistema di condizionamento e di riscaldamento perché poi la barca va cucinata, come si dice in gergo. Quindi sono stati dei processi evolutivi perché poi questo box da box di costruzione è diventato paint boot, ossia a un certo punto abbiamo finito lo scafo e abbiamo fatto la pitturazione della barca. È stato installato per esempio un sistema di estrazione e un sistema di ventilazione fatto ad hoc per poter pitturare una barca con la livrea che non era per nulla semplice. I turni sono stati fatti in maniera diversa a seconda del periodo della costruzione. Abbiamo seguito degli orari diciamo normali per tutta la parte di costruzione del forno e nel momento in cui sono arrivati i 2 mold e abbiamo iniziato a fare la laminazione, invece i boat builder hanno seguito uno schedule tutto loro, erano indipendenti dal resto dello short team, facevano normalmente 12 ore sempre durante la giornata. Quando poi siamo arrivati allo stadio di pitturazione, ma era ancora da definire la parte dentro della barca, avevamo i boat builder che lavoravano al mattino e poi avevamo un gruppo di pittori che lavoravano di notte, in modo da non andare in contrasto tra i 2 dipartimenti. La stessa cosa è stata fatta quando abbiamo fatto l'installazione, quindi noi avevamo il dipartimento di meccatronica che lavorava di giorno, poi chiudevamo la barca diciamo verso le 6 di sera e da quel punto lì fino alla mattina del giorno dopo i pittori avrebbero lavorato per andare avanti con la livrea appunto. Il ruolo del sailing team nello short team, questa coppa è un po' differente. I ragazzi ci hanno dato una grossa mano per quanto riguarda la costruzione dei forni, però poi essendo molto occupati con il lavoro al simulatore in questa campagna non stanno lavorando tantissimo con noi. Alcuni di loro si sono specializzati nell'aiutare determinati dipartimenti, ognuno più o meno ha un range suo di skills che poi dopo utilizziamo quando appunto hanno tempo libero, quando sono liberi dagli allenamenti fisici in palestra o quando sono liberi dal simulatore. Il giorno che dobbiamo uscire in mare, quindi apriamo la tenda della barca e la tenda dell'albero, viene tirato fuori l'albero, attaccato alla gru, l'albero viene tirato su in posizione dove poi sotto andrà spinta la barca che è su un carrello su ruote e questo si chiama stepping, ossia l'albero verrà appoggiato sulla palla e poi verranno attaccate le sarti e lo strallo di prua e a quel punto lì si può tirare su la barca insieme all'albero e metterla in acqua al dock. A quel punto lì, quando siamo al dock, entra in gioco un altro tipo di dipartimento che è quello della meccatronica che fa i relativi check, un po' come si fa sugli aerei prima di decollare, quindi ci accertiamo che tutto funzioni, che quindi tutto il sistema del foil flap system funzioni, del foil can system funzioni, tutti i controlli dei ragazzi funzionino. Quando abbiamo superato tutti questi check arrivano i sailor che andranno in barca appunto durante la sessione e proveranno loro proprio fisicamente tutti i loro controlli, quindi che abbiano la sensibilità giusta, che funzionino bene, anche perché da una volta all'altra ci sono degli aggiornamenti di software, quindi determinate applicazioni hanno funzioni diverse, quindi devono un po' anche ripassarle proprio in quel momento lì. Noi abbiamo dei limiti meteo per quanto riguarda ovviamente il rollout, quindi se noi sappiamo che la sessione in mare sarà troppo ventosa e questo viene deciso dall'operation manager, non facciamo rollout. Se invece siamo fuori, navighiamo e poi torniamo e comunque viene vento forte, dobbiamo comunque gestire la situazione e tirare fuori la barca perché non può rimanere in mare. La cosa più complessa del mio lavoro è senza dubbio avere a che fare con 35-40 persone con i propri caratteri e le proprie esigenze. La cosa più bella del mio lavoro è bere dalla bottiglia di champagne quando vinci.
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm glad we played that video. There's, having been involved on these teams for years, it's a massively complex project.
Yes.
Before we got into all this mechatronics and all this latest stuff. And it has become so remote from the sailing. 95 or 98, 99% of us do. It's hard to appreciate them. You see just the preparation, just sticking the rig in the boat and then going through all the electronic checks is just an astonishing undertaking. And it boggles the minds how complex and expensive this has become. Now, they have a pretty good drone flyer. I like the way they flew their drone. Did you see that through the...
I didn't notice that.
They flew a drone through there right out the door and into the...
I didn't see that.
Into the hard stand. So it was pretty cool stuff. But man, oh man, it just makes me feel that much more distanced from this event that we all used to relate to because we did something, okay, not exactly. The 12 meters seemed exotic because it wasn't like sailing our laser or flying Scud or lightning or snipe, but at least it was more or less the same thing that we did, especially on bigger boats. This is completely foreign to most of us. As I say, to 98, 99% of sailors. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right. It's a world apart.
A world apart. Well said, Tom. Very sophisticated operation of these AC teams. Yes, it is. And this is where the cup's being won or lost, not just on the design, but on the operations. There was an interesting comment here by, and I think he may be right. Was it Daniel? He's not. Daniel Grun is not too high on these guys, on the Italians in general, he being German and a big fan of the Brits. But he's saying they are not contenders, especially with two over 40-year-olds like Spithill and Bruni at the helm. Burling and Outer Ridge will take them to the cleaners. Gordon Smith says he likes it. Gordon does not agree with me, I have a feeling. I think it is amazing. In fact, I don't even have a feeling. I can tell. It's very exciting and interesting. Stingray saying like the crew are required to maintain an F-16. Yes, Stingray. Ooh, Cal Maritime's got a sweet TP-52. Heather racing the bay now. I'm trying. Yeah, Alex Kent. Okay, he's here in San Francisco in the bay. Well, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but it's become really far out there, really complicated. Cyclers providing power, battery power, computers. Yeah, I suppose it's cool and interesting, but I have a feeling it's going to further alienate the sailing community, the yacht club, the traditional core group that follows the America's Cup, and probably even non-sailors as well. It's like Julie Aaron saying, it's like setting up a Broadway show. All the rigging and electronics, is it sailing? It may not seem so, but it is new technology, and that is about what the AC. That is what the AC is about. Yeah, but man, oh man, Julie, it's one thing to go sailing. It's another thing to be shooting the moon, for the moon, to the moon. Bravo Zulu. Let's get back here on kind of an upbeat mode. Bravo Zulu to couple three, at least one, two here I think I have put in the show. First, as we've been telling you, the Finn Gold Cup was going on. It ended a bit, not prematurely. It ended on Tuesday, but with a bit of a whimper because there was no wind in Miami. We were telling you live here on the show, and James Bland told us that he'd heard. Thanks, James, for that update. And then we had a picture of the prize giving from John Sangmeister, who was there with his son Peter. So it ended on the 31st, a few days ago, Tuesday this week. And as we told you then, it looked like Ed Wright was well and truly going to win, and he did. An amazing regatta after the 8 races going into Tuesday's non-sailing day. He was leading by 11 points on the strength of his 1-1-1-1-2-2-3 finishes. His throwout was a 12th. And there again, not to belabor I am going to belabor the point. If you'd counted all the races, and he had to count his 12th, you wouldn't have known going into that last race who was going to win, whether it was, assuming there was more racing or even the racing on Monday, whether it was going to be Ed Wright or whether it was going to be Dominicos Nemeth, whose dad Miklos, I think I said in the show Tuesday, I knew well. Everybody's in play, and you can see who's up and down based on where they are in the whole field. I just, it's a better way to run a railroad. You don't see the Finn class running a medal race anymore. They go yacht racing, Julia.
I know.
Right?
Yep.
They go yacht racing. So bravo Zulu to Ed. It's the second time. I think it was the longest gap for somebody between when they won their first Gold Cup and then won their second, which, as we said, ended in a whimper with no wind in Miami on Tuesday. Here is the video celebrating the wrap-up of that cool event.
Nice music.
Really nice week in Miami. We were sailing super good. I think we had super good conditions. It was Ed Wright. the official winner. Congrats.
Thank you too. Awesome.
Really nice sailing. It was super good people here. Really good organization. I really liked it, and really hoping to see more of them and the Europeans. Oh, I'm super happy with the silver medal. It's thrilling, to be honest. Super good guys were here, and it was really tight match at the end. Definitely going to sail in Finn till I'm out of juniors. I'm 20, so I have a bit more time left. I started doing a bit of IQ foiling, but I don't know how it will end. Also doing the SSL with the Hungarian team. We really hope that next year is going to be held.
Okay, no racing today. The result from yesterday is valid, and I'm so happy because in 3 months I just won the Finn Europeans and now finished third in the Finn Gold Cup. That is a super dream for me. Miami is fantastic. If we can do another time the Finn Gold Cup here, I'm going to come back.
So 2023 Finn Gold Cup champion. I'm very excited about that. It was a bit of a stressful day with the very light winds, but actually we didn't race in the end today. So in the end, by default, I get the win. It's been a fun week. Really nice to be back after a few years in the Finn. I think it was 2019 last time I was in the Finn. So. It was really nice racing. I could have won it many times. I've been second and third, I think 5 or 6 other times. So probably I've been knocking on the door for a while. It's nice to actually win it again. It was quite hard actually. Yeah, the other guys have definitely picked up the level. They're training hard, and yeah, there's a couple of youngsters that are really improving. So let's see what happens in the Finn class in the future. So we've been invited by Coconut Grove Sailing Club, and they've put on a great event. The race officer was outstanding this week. Really hats off to her. And yeah, everything went amazingly, really. It was a well-oiled regatta, so hopefully we'll come back soon.
Bravo Zulu to this great class, to their sponsors, and to their PR, Robert Deves, who does this class,
He does,
and
yeah.
5.5 and a few others, and I appreciate his continuing support, and he, I know, appreciates ours as well. Bill Wingrove saying Florida this time of year is front-driven cycle, breeze on before and after the front, then a couple days of nothing but thermals, most times too cool to draw in a sea breeze. Fritz Mueller, who's down in Miami, says he thinks Shannon Bush was the PR. Oh, I think that's right. We saw her interviewed maybe by Sangmeister as well. And of course, you had 87-year-old Gus Miller. Professor Gus Miller was a professor at the University of Michigan when I was there. And he has sailed in, I don't know, 30 plus Finn Gold Cups.
Yeah.
What a man. What a guy. And everybody's favorite guy in the sport, and we all look up to him. I hope he gets to do another. What are some other comments here? Daniel Gruen, I'm not going to read your additional comment, but yeah, they're old, and it's you talk about, this was always Luca Devote's comment that you know, this is now such a young man's or young woman's sport, because you have to have the reflexes and so on to be operating at 40 to 50 knots and dealing with a whole different kettle of fish, which is okay, which is fine. But again, I don't think it's relatable. And Gordon Smith, I'm sorry, you and I almost always agree, but I completely disagree with your comment that says surely the discard rewards the most consistent sailor. How can you say that? If I have a series of seconds,
the least consistent sailor.
No, he's saying the most, and he is saying in his comment, surely the discard rewards the most consistent sailor, and you're saying
Steve Brewer says,
yeah, it's the least consistent. Yeah, you can have a couple of bad finishes, one in particular, and then still be in the hunt. And I'd much rather reward the sailor that has a bunch of top 5 finishes and wins. That's my opinion. I think it also improves the quality of the racing because I think people are more cautious with their equipment, don't risk doing things that might break down, much more cautious in boat-to-boat incidents, so you don't have risk taking a 720, let alone getting disqualified after that. I think it just cleans up the racing. It also cleans up the starting line. If you know that your OCS, your premature start, is not going to be throwable out. Throwoutable. You're gonna have a much cleaner starting line more of the time, in my opinion. But that's again, I'm beating that horse.
John Sangmeister was complimentary to the racing event.
Well, he was down there, and Coconut Grove Sailing Club is just one of the great clubs anywhere in the world, to be sure. And thanks to them. It's always best to have a champion sailor as a PRO. Fritz Mueller is saying. Mueller. Yeah, I think you're right, Fritz. Yeah, the best hockey referees were always good hockey players, and I think the same thing. Best judges, best race officers are people who are good. And ideally active racing sailors, not just old fart. Bravo Zulu to the Finn class. Bravo Zulu also to these two who are, as of yesterday, the day before, Daniela Moroth and Robbie Perrant are the Yachts Woman and Man of the Year here in the USA. Thanks to Rolex again for sponsoring this for many years. Robbie Perrant, Sarasota, Florida. Notice U.S. Sailing does not put the yacht clubs in here. It burns my butt. And I checked with Bill Wingrove this morning, and he says, yes, it's the Sarasota Sailing Squadron he thinks is his home club, Robbie Perrant. And, of course, Daniela Moros is from here in California and St. Francis Yacht Club. They were awarded the 2022 Rolex Yachts Woman and Yachts Man of the Year awards and were celebrated along with fellow 2022 award finalists Laura Grondin, who was nominated three times now, Sarah Stone, David Stark, and Doug DeVos. Bravo Zulu to them both. In 2022, Daniela won gold at the Princesa Sofia Olympic Regatta in Spain and captured her sixth consecutive kite foil world championship title. Moros also placed first at the French Olympic Week Regatta in the year and which was held, I should say, at the 2024 Olympic venue. In 2022, Robbie Perrant became the first sailor to win the A-class. He's a catamaran expert. Hell of a good sailor. See his New York Yacht Club tie on, too. Proud of that. Win the A-class Worlds, the F-18 European Championships, and F-18 World Championship, all in the same year. Adding to that success, Perrant won the A-class, the A-Cat Midwinters, and the A-class division at the Helly Hansen Sailing World Series. So bravo Zulu to them both. Nice work. We're proud of them. I just wish U.S. Sailing would go back to putting yacht clubs in along with their sailors to celebrate the club. It's the clubs, not exclusively, but a lot of clubs. And Julie, as you know here, who's supporting Daniela besides her parents and some of her sponsors and U.S. Sailing? It's the St. Francis Sailing Foundation.
Right.
Putting lots of money behind her. We're very proud of her at St. Francis. And I know you've kicked in some dough, and a lot of other people have as well. So bravo Zulu to them. And that gets us to a quick update here on the ocean race. It's still a little slow going as they're heading from Cabo. They're over on the far left, lower left corner from Cabo Verde down to Ted Ryman's beloved hometown of Cape Town. I guess I'll read this again. After dropping to second place overnight, today Geo Environment is Team Europe have regained the lead. They're kind of spread out now, side to side.
Letter separation.
almost 90 miles more east than the rest of the fleet. So that will also have a big effect probably
11th
later.
hour is dropped to
Just
4th.
really close to Brazil now. So we have to sail back across the Atlantic the other way to get to Cape Town.
The IMOCA fleet has sailed into an area of light winds, and the crews are once again fighting hour by hour for every position report.
Down 120.
Ah, yes, +4.
And Kevin 125.
Ah, +1. The same.
After 9 days at sea, the crews must keep a close eye on boat maintenance and power consumption.
Pretty complicated. We have lots of rain, cloud, big cloud. So the wind was shifty. But we managed to keep the G0 all the time. So it was not too bad.
Third place Biotherm are sailing consistently and will be hoping that the middle way pays off. We said 11th hour racing back in 4th of 5th place, 5 places. So we'll see if they can come up a little bit here in the next few days. Who was it? Daniel Gruen saying their ETA in Cape Town is February 10th or 11th. Thank you for that, Daniel. And I hope Ted Ryman, Ted, I hope you will go and give us, don't you think, Julie? It'd be great if he went and gave us a report.
Oh, yes.
Take his iPhone or his Android phone down there and shoot a video for us.
Yep.
And send it back. That gets us to the last leg. I was going to tell you who are the invitees now for Congressional Cup, but that's sort of an evergreen story. That's still a bit away, so we'll do that on next Tuesday's show. In the meantime, we just get to our WTF, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Julie, get your finger ready.
Mm-hmm.
This one is so bad.
Oh, yes.
It is so bad that I haven't even put up the name of the person, even though they said I could do it, but I was embarrassed for them. So I did not put it up. Here it is. It's a video. Have a look.
That's the doctor's all done with there.
Yeah, got that over with. I just can't believe what he said about me being old enough now to play with myself whenever I wanted to.
That's not what he said.
What did he say?
He said that at your age now, you can have a stroke at any time.
Oh.
And maybe you couldn't hear it. He said, I'm old. Could you hear it?
Yeah.
I'm old enough now I can play with myself anytime I want. She said, no, that's not what he said. He said, you're so old you could have a stroke at any time. Does that deserve a finger wag or not?
Oh, yes.
Huh?
I guess so. A sort of a lame one.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was okay. I won't say who sent it to us, but I thought it was hilarious. Oh, James Bland says boo. Gordon Smith says ha ha. James, oh no, Stingray said Worley smiling. Yeah, okay. Mixed reviews. Mixed reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Ryman likes it. I won't say maybe one of the people who liked it. Definitely a finger wag. Greg Phillips says, yeah, I agree, Greg. I debated whether to stick it in, but I needed some Friday afternoon levity. Holtzman thought it was great. Joe, thank you for your comment on my little Portage Lake video. Julie, I didn't put that in the show, but maybe I'll put that Portage Lake
video. Yeah, it was really good.
At some point. I did a video about growing up at our little lake in Michigan. Some guy had written to me, not some guy, a guy called Dennis Norton, who has my first Flying Scot, 1159, that he's inherited from his father, who's late great father, who's passed away. And he's still got the original sails. He's still sailing the boat. This is a boat from the mid 60s, mid to late 60s that I did a little video for him explaining.
When you told me about it beforehand, I thought, oh, well, that'll be, but when I watched it,
you enjoyed it.
It was a lovely story.
Yeah, maybe we'll run it in due course. I will say this too, that I got a rare email from Joe Holtzman. Appreciate this, Clark Che, from my father, who rarely, he's just not very communicative except on the phone. And he sent me an email saying that was a great video.
Oh,
I really
nice.
enjoyed it. And he was amazed at how well it was put together. I said, well, we do this a couple times a week, Dad, with a lot more slides.
Yes. Oh, no, but I'm so glad he saw it, and I'm glad he responded.
Time for fresh sales. Yeah, 60 years later, James Bland is saying, yeah, I think they got new main and jib. And the spinnaker, though, it's a 3/4 ounce Dacron nylon kite, I guess, probably has not been used. But it must still be, not moth-eaten. It must still be. Okay. Okay, that gets us to the finish line. Thanks very much for joining us for today's show. Julie, your witness.
Yes. Please like, follow, and share. Makes a difference.
It does indeed. Comments are welcome too, even in replay. Please join us as a patron. Give us $1 or $2 or $5 a month. Some people give us more to keep us on the air so we can pay for the equipment. I am pleased to report, Julia, today in our hour and 40-minute show, we have just barely over 10% of the CPU usage. We've been trying to push that down because it improves the quality. We can run the show a little bit at a higher bit rate. And we have 0, and I mean 0.0% frames dropped.
Oh, lovely.
So of all these frames that we're sending out at 1080p, 30 frames a second, and now we're down under 10% CPU. So that's good.
Fabulous.
And we appreciate those of you who help, because we do keep trying to upgrade our equipment, get better computers, and so on and so forth to bring you a good show. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Speaking of those who help, we're always thankful for those of you who give us videos and images and audio for today's show. Julia, final thoughts? Any?
No, not really. The season goes on.
Which season? The sailing season.
Yeah.
Well, it does here. We're starting to tune up again. We had the 3 bridge fiasco last weekend.
Yes.
Here, and we talked about that with Commodore.
Yeah.
Froelich, right?
Right, yeah.
Who's still getting rave reviews.
Yes, that was a great show.
That was a great show. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We'll do this again on Tuesday, God and the Internet willing. Hope you have a great weekend. You're already underway down under. And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.